Yesterday we did till list. We saw tuples, okay, and we saw what is the difference between this. So today we'll try to go ahead in this, and our major focus will be to wrap up data types and see the loopings. How do we loop in uh, Python? And so you do you have any doubts in list and tuple? Numeric we have seen, string we have seen. So this four data types, which was very important. So I hope that is clear by now. So let's go ahead and understand the basic difference. The basic difference is tuples, strings, and all the data types that we have seen. Apart from list, they are not mutable. You cannot change it. Okay, they are immutable actually. And list is something which is mutable. You can change it. Okay, fine. So now there's another data type which is called set. We don't use it a lot as frequent as string and list. Okay, but at times you'll understand you'll have to use this. There's a purpose for that, and majorly in the case of in the case of your loopings. Okay, so how do we declare that? It comes with a curly braces. So just try and understand one notion here. And when we talk about list, so square bracket is how we create list. When we talk about string, so string is basically your in normal braces. When you talk about set tuple is again in this braces. Okay, but when we talk about set, okay, which is a different altogether different data type, so set comes with a curly braces. Okay, so this is now the confusion is like both the bracket are same, so how do you understand? Okay, so first of all, in string you give anything that you give in quotes, they are considered an item in string. Okay, so if you give anything here, you don't declare it in a bracket. You can close it in a bracket, but it directly comes in a quote. Okay, so this is how you declare string. Okay, so the bracket is not mandatory. You can directly even if you give a bracket, so that will also work. Okay, so the main idea is, so anything that comes in quote becomes a string data type like this. Okay, so you just need to keep this thing in mind. In set and tuple you have a bracket, and in set we have curly braces. Now if you declare set, let's say I'm declaring set1. Okay, so I'll definitely give it in a curly braces, wherein it is again a heterogeneous. You can place integer, character, anything here. So if I give uh, yeah, yeah, so when you declare it, so let's say I declare s and then Python. What happens? So you declare it. So when you run it, let's say I have ran this, and when I call it set1. So what you observe here is it has uh, items in the list. Okay, now let's come to the indexing. So we have declared the list set. This is the set. Now if I want to index it, like in any ways, the entire idea of the data structure is to store some elements, store some objects, create objects, and use it, right? So it's basically use the whole purpose is to reuse it. Okay, so for different purpose. Now if I want to, how do we reuse it? Indexing is one of the way. So if I want to if I want to reuse this, so what I'll do, I'll index it obviously. So the moment you index and you run this, so you'll get an object. Set object does not support indexing, so it does not support indexing altogether. Okay, you cannot like pull items from the set object. Now the next very obvious question comes to my mind, like should come to our mind, like if we are declaring an object, set object, and if I check the type of it, so it says it is your so it says it's a set. Okay, and then if I try to index it, indexing is not possible. Indexing is not possible in set. what is the whole purpose? So in set, so why are we creating object for this purpose? So the thing is, set object cannot be indexed, and it can be only iterate. Like you can only iterate on that object. You cannot pull individual objects. So what does that mean? You can only iterate. Okay. Now, any object, like what is, first of all, what is what does this mean? Iterate. So this means that any object wherein you can loop and pull out individual element in a go. Okay, that means you can iterate over it. So example will be, if you write a loop, okay, and in a loop you want to print individual item one by one, that means you are iterating in that object. And any object which supports iteration, that is called iterables. So many of time you will see, you will get an error which says this object is not iterable, this object is iterable. That means the object which you are using does not support or support looping, okay, or individual pulling of the element. So now uh, let's say how do we use this set. So you can directly use it like this in a go, okay. But if you want to index one by one, you will have to write any loop. Let's say I write for loop for I in set1, okay, print I. So something like this if you write, so what it will do is it will print it. See, one by one it is printing the element, okay. And it says that this actually signifies that your object set1 is not, will not give you index element one by one, okay. But it will, if you want to iterate it, it will iterate in a go, okay. Now second thing is why it is not not giving me element index wise. The answer is, this becomes an interview question most of the time. Like, set is an object which is iterable, but why don't it gives indexed element? So the idea is, in set there is no concept of indexing, okay. Items are not stored in any orders, okay. So I don't know if this will be visible here, but if you have a big set and you reprint it again and again, so you might see that the order might change. So that means the items in the set is not stored in any order. So if it is not stored in any order, so indexing is not applicable there, okay. That is the whole point, right? So let's see the error again, so that would give you the better understanding. So it says object does not support indexing, right? That is the whole point. So any questions in this, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, like, sir, in this set, sir, like we cannot use indexing.
yeah,
And so if we print a set, it is put in any order. So, like, what's the use of this set?
yeah. So this set is the set data object is used majorly for iterations, okay. You have created any object, let's say you created any object. One example I would like to tell you is, like, let's say I call this object and the methods, so dot methods, okay. And you just uh, type add, okay. Before running it, just check how is the object stored in uh, set1. So you see the sequence 1 2 3 4 5 Python and S, okay. Let's say I'll add one more element, which is learning, okay. If the elements would have been indexed, the new item will definitely come and sit at the end. That is what we have seen, right? Now if you add this element, okay, and just then check the orientation of the elements, so you see it is not in any order. It randomly goes and sit anywhere, wherever it finds the place, okay. So if it is not ordered, how will you believe like index 1 will give you this element, index 2 will give you that element? you cannot with surety you cannot say that, because you have not stored the items in any order. Okay, now if you add one more element, let's say you are adding one more element called set one dot add, and Python learning analytics. Okay, and you add it, and you again view the see here. Now it is again randomly it got added anywhere, wherever it found the place it got added. Okay, so that is the idea. So it is not ordered element, and that's the reason you cannot index it. There is no concept of indexing here. So now question is, how do we use it? So the uses of this is solely on looping. So where you just want to loop entire element, where you want to use the all the elements of the list set. Hmm? Fine. So now let's quickly see what an all method does or a set object provides. So add, we have seen, clear will clear out all the element. Copy will create a copy of that. So if you can compare to set using difference, is it difference or same? Okay. Remove, pop. So if you remove something or pop something, it will randomly pull out any element and will not pull out any element from the last. It can pull out any element and remove it. See here, it removed one. One was the first element. Now if you again run it, so it removed two. So it is not pulling it in any order, so but it is randomly pulling the items. Okay. So yeah, so I guess that is more or less in a set. And if you want to look into the elements of a list, so there is only one way to look into it: iterate over that element. Okay, iteration is the only option. Okay, fine. So okay, so you have I'll share the seeds. You can try a different combination. So add, we have seen. Union is basically will club two sets. If you have two sets, let's see one example quickly. uh, let's say you have set one is already there. I'm declaring set two. Oh, is set one? Okay, yeah, set one we have all. Let's say I'll declare set one. Okay, and I already have set two. So let's see how set one and set two looks like. Print set one, print set two. So these are my two sets. If I do set one union set two, so I'll get a full-fledged element, which will be the union of two elements, set one and set two. Okay, but there is no order. You cannot like figure out like if it is in any order. But one thing that you'll make sure that the set will make sure that there's no duplicate as such. Okay, so if you see mm, uh, 2, right? So it occurs in both the set 1 and set 2. Okay, but in the final set, which you got as an output, you see only 1 2. Okay, so it has removed the duplicate. You will not get the duplicate here. Okay, so intersection, if you try intersection, that will give you the common element. So what is common here in both the set is 2, right? Yeah, so 2 is common. So ideally you should get an output which will give you the common element in both the set 1 and set 2. Okay, so length will give you what is the total items, so number of items in the set. So you just count, you have 5 items in set 1, so you get number 5. Okay, if you want to remove anything, it will remove that particular element. So if you, so pop was randomly removing any items from the set. If you want to remove any particular item, okay, you can use remove. These are the major methods which is available in set objects. Any question, guys? Any doubts? Okay, fine. Now the last and the most important one, sometime trickier one as well. Okay, we have dictionary. So in dictionary, guys, so dictionary is one data object which is data structures in Python, which we use very frequently, and that's the reason it is sometimes it becomes a little complicated as well. So how do we declare dictionary? We declare dictionary with a curly braces, okay? But in a dictionary, where let's say it is simply declared by curly braces, there's one concept which is called uh, key and value. The concept in dictionary is key and value. So what does it? How does it become different? Is in a list, how do you index element? You index element using index. You pull out or slice element using index. So here you give index and you get the output. So similarly in your tuple and your set is not possible string. So everywhere you give index and you get the items. Okay, but dictionary is based out of different concepts. So here we have a concept of key and value. You give key and you get the related values as an output. Okay, so and if you are giving key and expecting value, so the input also should be in the same format. So if I declare, let's say I declare the same dictionary D1, wherein I'm passing 1 yes, 2 k, 3 no, 4 data. Okay, separated by comma, and key and value is separated by colon. Okay, so this is how you declare the uh, dictionary. Now if you see D1, so that says this is how this is how the output looks like. So you have keys, okay, and you have values, key values. Now if you want to extract an element, so you cannot give index. So let's say uh, d1, and if you give if you cannot consider this as 0 1 2 3, no, you'll have to pass in index number. So my index, I want I'll pass in key, I'll pass in my key, which is 4. So the output which I'm expecting is 4 data. So I'll expect data as my output. So this is my output data. Okay. Now if I pass in 2, so 2 is the key. If the input key is 2, the output should be okay, right? So run this, so you get okay. So this is how you use dictionary. Okay. Now in a dictionary object, you'll find a lot of methods. So let's have a look. Key clear is basically, I will clear all the uh, it will clear all the items. So if you just run and check D1, so you'll see empty dictionary. So dictionary is now empty, everything is cleared. So let's run it again. So this is clear. Then up after clear you have copy, which will create a copy of your uh, dictionary. Like if you want to create a copy of the dictionary, you can do this. Okay. So keys and items. Okay, so items is something which will return the total key value pair. It will return the total pair. Okay, so see here, and the this becomes one item of a list. So output becomes your list. See here, it becomes a list. It's a square bracket, and key value becomes a item of each list. Okay, so example is, let's say store this in a L1 list. Okay, and then print L1. So you see here, you get this, and you check the type of L1, so you will get a dictionary items. So it is stored in like list format. So if I just want to access first element, so okay, so it is not supporting indexing actually. It should not actually. Yeah. So so what happens? Wait. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, and if we see the other methods like L1, sorry, D1 dot items, we have seen keys. So keys will just give you the keys of the dictionary. So if you just type this, so it will give you all the keys. So how many keys you have? 1 2 3 4. So 1 2 3 4. Similarly you can use values, so it will give you all the values of a dictionary. Yes, okay, no dates. So you can the dictionary will know it very well aware which is acting as a key and which is acting as a values in your dictionary. Okay. So few more methods, important methods actually. uh, Popping will remove items. Okay. Update will update the items, update values. Yeah, so more or less very self-explanatory methods. You can try some of those. Right now, how do you loop in dictionary? So that is important. So again, it if in other data structures, how did we loop? We just wrote for I in let's say data structures, list, tuple, whatever, and used to print the values, right? But in dictionary, we can do the say we can opt for the same way. But since we have the concept of keys and values, we can basically loop in both keys and values. How do we do that? Is we pass keys comma values in dictionary d1 dot items, okay, and then print key values, key keys and values. Okay, so you see here that it I'm actually in one single loop. I'm trying to pull in two elements. I'm keys and values. So this becomes a set. This what you see here. This is one set. This is second set. This is third set, or you can call a tuple as well. Sorry, this is a tuple. So this becomes first tuple, second tuple, third tuple, fourth tuple. So I'm looping through each tuple and printing it out. So you can loop in. This is a different, like unique way of looping in dictionary, but you can opt for this as well. Okay. So methods we have seen. We have seen your copy to copy element items to it will show you. Uh, uh, it will show you a tuple, which is a combination, which is a sub comma separated keys and values. Then you have values, which will just show you the values. Clear will clear the dictionary. Okay, if you want to loop in, so you want to loop, you can loop like this. Okay, you can even uh, so we have you seen this passing keys as the input. So if you pass any input one, so this is your key. Okay, this is your key. It will return a output of a value. So you can actually use this as well. Okay, so accessing is this. You can even, yeah, so dictionary, coming to the main discussion that we are having, mutable and immutable. So dictionary is mutable. You can change. So how will you change the item? So let's say this is our dictionary, right? This is our dictionary. If I want to change this, the fourth, the values of key number 4, if you want to change it, so how will I change? So there's a very simple way. So what I want to change, key for values of key 4, I want to change it to, let's say, Python. Okay, so it will get updated. Now if you check d1, so you'll get the data value is updated with Python. Okay, so you can even change it, but reverse is not possible. You cannot access dictionaries using values. That will not happen. So reverse is not possible. This will give you an error. Okay, this will give you an error because it is a there's no key, because indexing happens only in key. You cannot pull out elements or pull out keys based on values. That is not possible because it will not even search that. And few in coming days, when you start learning the advanced uh, concepts and implementing it, so in the on the same line of dictionary, you have this many databases. In today's time, more advanced databases are being built on the concept of dictionary. Okay, so some of the examples would be like if you talk about the database that Facebook uses. Okay, like all those are the database that Twitter uses. Okay, all those databases are based on the concept of key and value that are basically based on the concept of dictionary. Okay, so in those cases where you have very huge databases and a lot of transactions are happening, you don't have this normal RDBMS what we learn in our traditional schools and colleges, right? So they have advanced databases which is completely based on key and value dictionaries. Okay. Any questions, guys, so far in dictionary? I guess we saw removing, we saw clear. Yeah. So this is pretty much in dictionary. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Okay. So the next thing will be your converting data types into like other data types. So whatever data types we have seen, mostly almost all of those uh, are like convertible. Like you can convert boolean into integer, float into integer, integer into float. Okay, sometimes, not all the time, but yeah, sometimes string into an integers, you can convert that. So you need to understand the scope of it. Okay, definitely, if you have a string called s, wherein you have a value called, let's say, python. Okay, you cannot convert this into integer. Obviously, what integer value will it return? Okay, but at the same time, if you have a string of which has value of 10, so this you can convert it to integer or a float. So at the same time, if you have a integer I, which is having a 10.5, you can convert, this is a float basically. If you have a float of 10.5, you can convert this into integer. And if you have integer I with a value of 10, you can convert this into float. Okay, so conversions are possible. Okay, and like other unlike other programming languages, it is very simple here. Okay, the reason being we have very limited data types here, so we have only string and integers. Then you have boolean and all those as well, but majorly 2 3 data types. Now if I want to even convert boolean into integer, will it be possible? Guys, any guess?
So like in integer values, it might return only 0 or 1.
Exactly, exactly, yeah. So if you, this is also possible, but the scope is very limited. If you like boolean is true and false, so at max you can, if you want to convert it, so it will become what? If you want to convert it into integer, it will become 1 or 0. And if you want to convert this into let's say float, it will become 1.0 or 0.0. So this is the scope of converting a boolean into integer or float, but it can be, like, it can be done. And most of the cases we will see when we loop, so we purposefully convert a boolean into integer, that is 1 or 0. Fine. So as a whole, I'll suggest what I feel is, this is the scope of converting values in Python. Okay, let's see a couple of examples now. Okay, so how do you do that? So whatever you want to convert, okay, uh, let's say I have a string. Let's start with string. I have a string called 10, right? Now if I want to convert this, I want to print s first. It will be printing your string 10, right? Then I want to print the integer value, so I'll simply write int s. It will convert s, and then uh, it will give you, let's do something. This is a value. Okay, here I'm converting it, so let me write a good story. This is converted, right? Let me run this. So now you see here, uh let so it was a string s which I declared it earlier. I just printed string, so this is a string. Okay, if I want to print the type, let me print the type of it. Here as well, I'll print the type of it, so that will give me better understanding. Yeah, so I just checked the type. So this will be a character, obviously. Okay, character or a string. Then I converted that into integer and took the type. So this should be a integer, right? So let's run this. So you see, so this is a string value, okay, and it says str. And when I converted that into integer, so it got converted into integer, right? So this is how you do is you simply write whatever you want to convert, you write that as a in the outside bracket, and it will get converted, right? So this is a string, this is a integer. Now if I want to convert, let's say I have a boolean b is equal to uh, b1 is equal to true, okay, and b2 is equal to false, okay. I am printing your int b1, that is I'm converting true, okay, and then I'll print uh, int b2, okay. So you see here that true and false. Let me print this b1 as well as it is without converting b2. So earlier it was true and false, you are converted to 1 and 0. So true resembles 1 and false resembles 0. So you can do conversion like this, simply write where you want to convert. So obviously if you want to check the error, so let's say s is python, and you convert this into int s. So what will be the expected output? It will give you an error, because python, how will it get converted to uh, integer? It does not have integer in this, right? But at the same time, if you have 10 inside, okay, if you copy this and try again a different case where you have 10 here, okay, and then run this. So python is very intelligent to understand what is the value inside, is it convertible or not. Okay, here in this case it's a pure character, okay. If it removes the quote, it is still a character. It does not is it's not an integer, okay. It gives you an error, invalid literal for int with base 10 python, you cannot convert it. But here the moment it removes the quote while converting, it saw that it's a number inside, so it can be converted and printed out without any error. So these are two different use cases, okay. One with proper string, one with string but it's an integer inside, okay. So we saw your conversion of a string, we saw a conversion of a boolean, we saw a conversion of a string as well, number string. Now last case which you will generally see is converting, let's say you have integer I which is 10, okay, uh, but you want to convert this into a float, okay. So what will be ideally done is it will simply add decimal point, okay, and it will convert it. So you see, first you printed I which was 10, but after converting it to float it added 0 in it, and it is a float now. The type of it is a float. Another example, if you see here, if it is a float, let's say f is equal to 10.5, and you want to convert it into a integer, okay. So what you will do is simply write f. So integer means no decimal point, so it will remove the decimal point. That means it will remove the anything that is preceding after decimal. It will give you rounded numbers, okay. So here you got 10, right? Now other thing is like if you have 6, so it is rounding up, it is just removing up the decimal and the precedings. It is not rounding up with the proper mathematical logic, okay. So in like upcoming sessions we'll see like what value you want. Do you want a floor value or a ceiling value? Likewise you can write it here. So let's say you want, if there's a the package that we'll see in upcoming sessions, numpy. So numpy has a method wherein you can use what value you want. You want floor value, okay, or you want ceiling value. So we are all aware with floor and ceiling, right? So here it is just randomly converting and giving me the integer part and removing the decimal part. But when you do some scientific calculations, like especially when you start doing modelings, okay, wherein numbers matters a lot, so you will have to use such mathematical functions, okay, methods to get the exact and precise value. So here if I want floor value of 10.6, so it will give you the like the least, okay, whatever floor means. Then if you want ceiling value, so it gives you the uh, top value. Okay, are we clear guys on this?
See, फ्लोर मतलब ग्राउंड वैल्यू ठीक है
Okay, सही है.
ओके सर
ठीक है. Okay, so that is more or less in conversion. So I'll guess we have covered all the cases. Okay, we converted string with integer, float to integer, integer to float, boolean to float, right? You can convert both boolean to integer and boolean to float as well. So we have seen both the cases, I guess, right? Okay, so now let's get into a input thing, wherein we actually so far whatever we did was we were taking input from the like in the seller only. We did not had this provision of asking input from the user. So we always declared x is equal to, and we entered the value here, right? And that is how x assigned itself the value of 10. But now here what we'll do is will there's a method in function in Python where they will ask for a value in a runtime. Okay, so what is that? So let's say x is equal to, you have a function called input. If you are using Python 2.7 or 32-bit Python, so you'll have a method function called raw input. So just make sure this will be raw input will be when you are using Python 2.7 version. But if you are using the updated Python, it is just input. And you type here and let's say enter the value, enter the value. So once you run this, okay, you'll get a pop-up, okay, in below, and this will be in a star. That means it is in execution mode. Here, if you enter any value, let's say I enter 10 and entered it. So and check x, so x becomes 10. So this value of the value which you entered here, the value which you entered here, basically this part gets assigned to x on a runtime, and x has a value of 10, whatever value you assign. Okay, one thing that you'll see, we entered 10, whatever we see, the output of the type of x is string. Though we entered number, it is string. Okay, if we run again and we enter string actually, and then we see, then also it is string. Okay, it's a string. So what we can assume from here is, even if we enter, let's say if I run again and check another third case, true, and we check here, so again it's a string, it's not a boolean. So in all the three cases, whatever, irrespective of what we give as an input in this input function during a user input use case, we get string as a output. The type of the input is becomes automatically converted to string. So this means this is a default data type, okay, and it gets converted to a string. So now if I actually want a number, if I my purpose is to enter a number, and you want to use that use that input as a number only. So you will have to convert that into integer. Okay, now you run it. You enter 10. It took as a string, and then since you have already converted that into integer, the final value which will get stored in x should be an integer. Right now, if you check x, so it is 10 and integer. So it got converted. Clear? Okay. So I guess that is more or less in input. Now, if you want to do some operations, so you can do here. So let's say I'm uh, taking x as input, wherein I'll just type input. Okay, I'll convert it. So let's say enter the input, enter x. Okay, here, and then you have another. Let's create another variable called y, wherein you are asking for the input of y. Okay, and you want to print x plus y. Okay, if you do it now, you enter x 10. Okay, enter, and then you enter 20. So what should be the output, guys?
30.
30. Okay, any more guess?
30.
X plus Y. Oh, 10 plus 20. I think 10 plus 20.
30 should be the output,
10 plus
but
20.
10 plus 20 should be 30. But here I'm this
String
10
provide
and
कर देगा.
20.
String
These are
provide करेगा.
strings.
This is string, right?
String.
So you'll get an error.
String. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so see, you get
Concatenate.
a random, it's concatenating, right? So if
Concatenate
you
कर
want to,
सकते हैं. हाँ.
yeah, if you want to, so string concatenation is possible. If you want to see, if this is a, and if let's say this is x, this is y, this is b. So and you want to see x plus y, so somehow it will concatenate. Okay, ab. Okay, it's concatenating.
AB.
That is what
String provide.
it is doing here. 10, it becomes 1020. It just concatenate. But if you want to see the actual numerical operation, you'll have to convert that.
Int.
Int.
Int use करना पड़ेगा. हाँ,
हाँ.
ठीक है.
ठीक है, अब इसे रन करो. If you run this now, so you'll get 10, and then you get 20, so you get 30. Okay. Fine. So that is more or less on input function. This is very important, and you'll realize it once you start implementing it. Range function we have already discussed. So in range function, one small thing that I would like to cover here is, if you take the same example, range. Okay, so range is something which if you see help of range, okay, that we have seen yesterday as well, but let's see again. And you write range here. So range is basically, it will give you where to start. It is a sequence operator where it will give you a sequence from start point to the end point. And if in case you want to have any specific pattern in which you want to navigate, so you can give that numbers. Okay, the one thing that you need to make sure is, if you just close this once. One thing that you need to just make sure is, you cannot let's say print for I in range 10, 100 varied by let's say 10.5. Okay, and you give colon and you print I. Okay, here if you do this, so you will see float object cannot be interpreted as an integer. So whatever sequence you want to vary here, just whatever sequence that you want, 10 difference, 5 difference, okay, it should be an integer. It does not accept float as a navigate like jumping parameter. So you'll have to give integer only, then only it will navigate. You cannot give any float value here. That is the point that I want to mention specifically. Okay, now that covers more or less the basics. Now let's start with the actual programming, and that is your control flow. So like any other programming language, you have a lot of control flows in Python as well, but let's cover the important one, the one which we use very regularly. We have already seen for loop a lot many times, and by now I guess you would be very used to how to write for loop. So in for loop, two things uh, that you need to make sure. Let's talk about that here. You need to give I. So if you do a fair comparison, if you have any other programming language, so in that we used to give I, which will be, let's say you used to have I, which is a uh, like iterable, like if on what value you want to iterate, right? Then you had this incremental operator, like how do you want to increment. Okay, so in general other programming language we used to give I plus plus, okay, I minus minus, okay, I plus is equal to 2, something like this we used to give this. Okay, so we are asking to increment it by particular way, but in Python we don't give any such thing. You see, it's very straightforward and clear. Okay, and then we used to give range as well. We used to give range on what range where the loop will execute, right? But here we have very straightforward ways of writing it. And what do we do? We simply write for I in range this, okay, print I. So whatever range, this varies, this can be anything. For now it can be range, you can give set, okay, you can give length. So let's say you have a list, and that list is L, wherein you have 5 elements, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so you can give length of 5, length of L as a range. No need to give range function, so you can give range. You can even give this. So what is that? What does that mean? So it will range from 0 to 5, right? And if you don't want to start with 0, if you want to start with 2, so give the starting point. Let's say you want to start with 2 comma this, so it will start with 2 and it will go till 5, right? So that is how it works. So this is the flexibility it provides. So anything that you can navigate or iterate should be inside the range function, okay? And then you can print print I means each element, it will print each element. So if you want to print the I, just I, 2 3 4 5, it will print that. If you want to print the indexed value, let's say you want to print, okay, let me copy this. If you want to print the value of list, then basically let's make little different values, A, B, C, E. Okay, now length of print the length of L1, L, and then you navigate through each element of list. So let's say L, I want to navigate indexed, I want to print index value of each element. Run this. So you see here, it starts from where I'm getting this 5. Okay, sorry, this is a length of 5. Okay, so I'm getting this length. Let me comment this. I thought from where I'm getting this. Now this prints the like starts from 2 first of all and goes till length 5. So we saw the 5 output. So start from 2. So 0 1 2. So this is 2 3 and 4 and -1. So it prints the value. So this is how you can in a different way you can change the range. You have a lot of scope in working with the range, right? Okay, now so this is more or less for loop, and we saw one cases of dictionary. Let's say you have a dictionary D, wherein D1 actually, yeah. So you had the dictionary. If you want to loop in dictionary, so in dictionary also we have a lot of scope of looping. So you can pull out each item and value individually. If you just want the keys, okay, so you can write for keys in uh, uh, dictionary and dot items d1 dot items. Okay, here you do not provide the range, okay, because dictionary it already has this items and like keys and values, so we'll use that. And if you want to print the keys or values, whatever you want to print, so let's say you want to print the values, so you will just write values, okay, and it will work. If you want to write the values, so you give the dictionary index, so you give the passing the keys here, so you pass the keys and you just want the values, so put the values like this. And okay, what is the problem? Okay, bracket is missing, so it gives it becomes out of range. It gives just first elements, keys in the, sorry, you don't need value because you are already passing this keys, but still it gives error. Keys item. Yeah, so whatever you want to loop, so you pass that as in the in condition, okay, and print that out. So and it will pull the first key, it'll pass the first key is 1. So what is the output? Yes. So you'll get a yes here. Again it will put in, will input second key, and it will output the value which you'll get is second value, so you'll get second value here. So likewise, so this is how. And there are different more other ways which you can explore yourself. Like let's say you just want values, right? So you want values to be printed, so use the same. So we are printing values only. So if you want to print keys, okay, so what you will do is sorry. So tell me how can you print keys rather than values, guys? Any guess? See, I have just written a hint here. So length of uh, keys, length of dictionary is 4. How can I print keys of my dictionary? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll give you this as a task. Okay, this is if you explore this, I'll tell you you will take 20-30 minutes to explore. But once you explore this properly, I'm sure that you'll learn the for loop and your dictionary at the same time. So this is your homework. So you have dictionary D1. Come again? Yeah, some you have answer, right? So please go ahead.
0 to L1, length D1,
0 to range.
length D1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come again. Sorry, it was I was not clear. Sorry. Come again.
For I in range, 0 to length D1,
Okay.
print
0
D1.
to. Okay. So you what do you mean is uh, vary your dictionary from 0 to length D1. So range 0 to length d1. Fine. So I got 0 to 4. This will be my range here. So if I just print this, so I should get 0 to 4 d1. Now what the logic which you need to think about is what will you print so that you get only the keys. Getting my point? So d1 dot keys is giving you all the key value, right? Now if I just write 1, the first element, and Google, so here you'll say it is not, basically since you are just pulling out keys, this will not work here. So this is what everybody thinks, like I'll pass in the index and then I'll pull out the keys. Okay, that is not working because you are passing keys here. This is also keys. The input into index of dictionary is a key. You cannot print key. Okay, so what you need to Google is do some research. How do you print keys in for loop? You'll get an answer.
Sir, can we use the split function here?
No. So what will you split? You'll split keys and values.
D1 dot keys dot split if it's possible. I can put it in list.
I don't think it will not work. So try it. Okay, so the problem is, I'll just write the question here. Print all the keys using loop. Keys of a dictionary. Loop. Okay. Fine. So this is more or less done. Let's remove this. Okay, now let's come to a loop. So loop we have already started. So let's come to a if loop. So with for loop we are clear. So if loop is a Boolean comparator. Okay, so whatever we saw in for, that is conditional format. Okay, whatever condition we give here, on that condition this loop will iterate. But in if we have something called Boolean. So here whatever condition you give, that will turn out to be a Boolean, true or false. If it is true, it will go inside, execute this. Okay, and if it is false, it will terminate. It will terminate and go out. Okay, this is as simple as it can be. So if it is true, if this is true, bool is true or false, this will execute, else it will not. Now, since you're just starting and you must be having some basics programming of any other programming experience. So in some of the programming language, you need to have else. Else becomes compulsory, right? But in Python, that is not the case. Only this will run. Okay. So if you want to check this as an example. If I just give true here, I don't give any condition, I just give true and print this. You see, execute this. This got executed. If I give false and run this will not, nothing will get executed. That means false, it got terminated and it did not enter even this loop. So after colon, it did not, from here only it got terminated. It did not enter the loop. But if I give else here, else print, the loop got terminated. See here, it saw it's a false, it directly came to else and it printed the else condition. So this condition that you are giving here in if loop, that becomes very crucial, that becomes important. Okay, and else is not mandatory. If it is fine, you can even skip it. Okay, but if your condition needs it, so you can give like this, if and else. Indentation plays a very important role. You cannot type print here, okay, or else here anywhere. This will give you an error. Okay, so you need to take care of the indentation. So let's say you write print here something. So you'll get an indentation error, expected an intended block. You need to take care of this intended block. In general, IPython notebook takes care of the indentation very smartly. You just need to go across the flow. Okay, so if you just wrote colon, that means it knows that IPython notebook knows that next is it needs to indent based on this if condition. Okay, the moment you press enter, it automatically takes your cursor here. You need to type here. Then you just need to make one extra effort, that uh, when you are completing or when you are ending up your if, you need to manually go back and write else condition. Okay, from the place where you wrote if, and then again enter it again in enter, and it will start typing it from there. So this just you need to take care of the else condition. Otherwise, everything will be taken care by the Python. Okay, so I guess I'll write here if condition was false. Okay, so this is if and else. Now let's talk about little advanced stuff, that is your multiple if. So one example you can see here is I will input marks of a students and using multiple if conditions. So multiple if is written as if elif. Okay, you write L-E-L-I-F. Okay, and so once you get into multiple or nested if, once you get into once you use nested if, else becomes compulsory. Okay, in only one if, else is not compulsory. Okay, so multiple if is written as elif. So now what I'll do is I'll just run this, and here I'll enter a marks, let's say 75. So what will happen? The 75 will get converted to integer, and it will start in the control flow. It will check x greater than or equal to 90. The answer will be true or false. So here it will be false. It will come here in the second elif. It will check here if 75 greater than or equal to 80. The answer will be false. Again it will come here. Now it will check the third loop, elif 75 greater than or equal to 70, true. It will print this value. This loop will get executed. Once it gets into any one of the else if, it will terminate that. It will not execute. So see here. Okay, guys, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So while loop we don't use a lot, but just for this, just have a look, and it's again a boolean based. So here you loop it. Why we don't use this? Because many a time, many condition, it gets into infinite loop and your system hangs. Okay, and we will have to give a condition explicitly. We'll have to mention how to increment or decrement x. Okay, the looping condition. So we write while greater than 0. If it is true, let's say I'm giving I'm writing a loop while let's say my y is, I want to increment y greater than 100, let's say 50, 50 colon enter, print x. Okay, now I'll have to make sure print y. Now I'll have to make sure that how this y increase or decrease. Otherwise it will, if you give a constant, let's say my initial value of y is uh, 10. Let's my of y value of y is 100, and I'll decrease y in each loop. I'll increase y by y minus 10, y minus 5, let's say. So what I'm doing is I'm initially declaring value of y as 100. Okay, now y is greater than 50, 100 is greater than 50, true, it will come inside, it will print y. That is your 100 got printed. Then now next time in next loop y becomes 100 minus 5, right? And then it gets converted 95 greater than 50, true, it will get printed. Again 95 minus 5, 90, it will come again here, 90 greater than 50, it will get printed. So in each loop you'll have to do some, you'll have to change the condition. Okay, and the moment it becomes less than or equal to 50, this will get terminated, and the loop will come out, something like this. See here, 50, 100, something like this. And 55, it did a comparison. After 55, 55 minus 5 becomes 50, 50 greater than 50, false, 50 is equal to 50, then this will get terminated. This is while loop. Guys, is it clear? Okay, so so we have seen for, we have seen a while, we have seen if condition. So this is more or less the looping in uh, Python. Okay, this covers almost all the loopings in Python. So one very important thing comes into picture is from interview perspective is your comprehensions, right? So comprehensions are basically since most of the activities that we do in Python are list based activities. So we use list. So we basically will create shortcuts to create this lists. Okay, so what are we doing is these are called comprehensions. So we'll see list comprehensions, dictionary comprehensions, set comprehension, and their generators as well. So let's see the important one, the list comprehension. What will happen? So before we start, let's check this. Now, if you think of something like this, L. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. These are my list, right? I run this and I get, what is my output? I get 2, 4. So this all are, first of all, it's in a square bracket, and it's a 2, 4, 6, 8 numbers. So this is an even number. So rather than if you want to create a list of item 100 items, you cannot even you can not basically keep on typing 100 numbers, 200 numbers to generate a list. If you want a list of even numbers which is less than 1000, how will you do that? So let's say the question is create a list of 50 items, 50 items where each item is even number, even number. This is your requirement. So one simple way will be you type each element 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, or else like you can use logic. Let's say I want to create even list. Okay, I'll create a logic. So this is I'll create a list comprehension. So what will be that? So I want to create a value of x. Okay, I write a loop here for x in range. From where I need to vary? Let's say I want to vary from 0 till 100. Okay, and how, like, even number, right? So I can just take two numbers at a time. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to loop for x in range 0 to 100 with a multiple of 2, that is even number, print all x. Okay, let's run this and check the value of even list. So you see you got the required output. If you print this, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, you want it till you got 50 items. You wanted 50 items, right? So let's see if how many items you got, if it is meeting the questions. So you got 50 items, right? Guys, is it clear? How this part is very crucial. So how are we right? We can even write conditions or loops inside list to generate a list. Okay. So look into other examples here. Okay, for x in, so it will create a what will this create? Any idea? So if you can recall normal for I in, let's say I declare a string called this. Okay, print I. So what this will give me? This will give me it will pull out each element at a time and will print it, right? So it's so basically it breaks the entire string item wise, character wise. It gives each character at a time, right? So similarly, if I'm doing this, so this will give me a list wherein I'll have my items will be each character, right? So if you just type and check print lis, so you see here step up, it becomes a string like this. Okay, so this is list comprehension. So dictionary comprehension and all, we can